Hey, welcome back to the Oh Grow Up podcast. I'm your host, David MD. With me this week, my guest, you'll be able to see him at Fritzy's DILF show, 7 December at 9 p.m. He's all over town doing his bad comedy shows. The one that we're promoting this week is going to be at The Block, 14 December at 9 p.m. He's doing Wackadoos, 20 December, 8 p.m. Give it up, please, for my next guest, Taylor Duggar. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me over. This looks great.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Excited about this.
It's great to have you. I'm trying to think when we started, like, hey, come on over. I know we had to reschedule from last week, so.
Yeah, I think.
So looking forward to it.
Yeah, just the open mics is where we first started out, and you had talked about the podcast. And now here we are. So, I mean, that's time flies when you're having fun.
It's fun with the podcast. I've been doing it for so long, but I haven't been out. So, like, I'm like, hey, I got this podcast. And, like, I don't know how other people receive it.
Look, comedians are all looking for the exexposure. Like, we're all attention whores. We're all just juicy,
oh, you want to record
attention.
me talking about myself? Okay.
Oh, good. I hate that. Yeah.
We're all narcissists like a motherfucker. So.
My ego? No. Yeah.
Our background stories, like they somewhat converge there for a little bit with our employment. So I'm just gonna do what every first episode is with people. Just talk about your interest in comedy, how it affected your childhood, all that good shit. Talk about our mutual employer,
Yeah,
and then get into like what's going on these days. So where did you grow up?
actually, I grew up not far from here. I grew up in the sticks of Colorado.
Okay.
There's a little place called Calhan, Calhan, Colorado. And really not a whole lot to do out there, like at all.
The one like boring place in
It was
Colorado.
my neighbor, the closest neighbor that I had was over half a mile away.
Oh, lucky you.
So it was just one of those like kids making up their own games
Hell
kind of thing, entertaining ourselves. And
so you weren't a cell phone kid and all that?
No, it was actually pretty like cabin living for a lot of it.
Okay.
Lived off of wood heat, so we'd split firewood every summer and all that kind of. First job was when I was a kid picking up horse shit. So
same here. Actually.
I'm like I wouldn't look like it, but I'm like this close to growing up to being the kid that's like wearing the Fox T-shirt with like a belt buckle and a lifted truck and shit. Like I am like I could have been that guy so easily. And
that's the weird thing with Colorado is like literally block by block in the Springs. You have like far left people right next to far right people. Like,
it's a
literally,
shit show
it's
here,
a spin of the wheel. It's like, all right, are you crazy conservative? Are you middle? Like,
yeah, I was so very isolated growing up. And when I was like younger, I'm like, man, I can't wait to get out of here and go someplace big. And the only place that I knew that was big was Colorado Springs. And now that
this is the big city.
This is the big city.
Wow.
This was this was the big city to me growing up.
Wow.
And so after that, I'd gone to school. It was never my plan to join the military.
Same here.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school was when George Bush's popularity peaked, and then when he fucking tanked it was right as I was leaving high school. So people that knew me as a senior in high school would be like, oh yeah, MD's never going to join the military. He's just anti-establishment and shit. It wasn't really anti-establishment, it was like anti-war.
Yeah.
And then by the time like I got to our mutual employer, the Air Force, I was obviously in a completely different headspace. But it's funny that gap between when you graduate high school and like what that you transitioned into.
Yeah, and I was going to school for like we talked just telecommunications. So like my first career path, my first idea of what I thought I was going to do was going to be being a radio DJ.
Yeah, and
being
you and I have that together, as I wanted to do that going to the Air Force. Yep,
that was the thing, and it wasn't like I'm going to make a bunch of money. It was the benefits of it. It's like, all right, yeah, I get to talk on the radio and meet people and go to concerts and promote venues and like travel.
Yeah,
all the old school what radio DJs used to do kind of thing.
With me, were you inspired by Good Morning Vietnam? Like,
I was a little bit more inspired by Bob and Tom.
Okay,
It's
the same thing. Is what inspired me with Good Morning Vietnam is the ability to riff. Is like you're in a controlled military environment, but like the way that he told that story was like, oh, he was able to make fun of like this, that, and the other, and like stay in it. And like maybe that's why AFN didn't pick me up.
Yeah, that's an inspirational motivation. You're like, oh, that's so inspiring. I hope to pass that on.
If I've seen interviews of the person that was based off of, he's like, I didn't do that shit. He's like, he shared information that was trying to be censored by the DOD, but like he wasn't sitting there riffing for 30 minutes like comedy routines and shit. So
I mean, only Robin Williams could do that.
Yeah,
that's what brought that to life. But yeah, definitely not far from reality for sure.
Yeah.
Very far from reality. And even AFN, like I would see, the network on in the chow hall or whatever,
Yeah.
or hear somebody on the radio from Camp Hansen or something,
Did you actually go through that schoolhouse? Try to? Or?
No.
Okay.
No, after I gave up and I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to make any money bussing tables at Panera Bread or washing dishes at P.F. Chang's or whatever I was doing at the time. I wanted to travel.
What some radio places.
It's what I'm still making right now,
Yeah.
motherfuckers.
Yeah.
What's going on? Where's the money at? You know?
If you're a local guy, you're not making that much money unless your signal's getting broadcast out of the city. Like you're just probably getting paid the same much.
And even
as,
then, like terrestrial radio is taking a backseat to things like this. So it's kind of funny how it comes full circle. Really.
25 million views Rogan got for the Trump thing in less than a day.
Yeah.
It's like nobody's doing that.
Internet's
Not even
crazy.
cable TV's doing that shit. Like
You couldn't make that much money selling on pay-per-view.
no. So
It's insane.
you're busting tables, all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to
in
travel.
Small town Colorado still?
No, Springs.
Okay, so you got to the big city.
Mhm, all the way in, working up in Briargate.
Okay. Ooh, the nice part of town. Huh?
Yeah, my car got stolen from there, so
And Briargate.
can it happen to anybody?
Probably
I've been
because
called
the Ferraris
yeah.
look too secure.
Well, a 92 Honda is like statistically the easiest car to steal, so I kind of set myself up for failure by going with reliability on that one. And I decided, I was like, yeah, you know what, this might be a good idea. Let me go talk to the recruiters. And I didn't really talk to any other recruiters. Like everyone was telling me, like, hey, go talk to the Army, go talk to the Navy, go talk to the Air Force, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah. I'm in Colorado. Half the people that I knew were here from Air Force, you know.
Big Air Force
retired
town.
parents.
Yep.
Not a bad lifestyle, it looked like.
Yeah.
In a time where there wasn't like, what they called peacetime.
What year did you join?
I was in 2014, 2015, right? 2015.
You missed a horrific phase of the Air Force.
Oh, I've just missed out on so much every time, bud.
2013, 2014 is when sequestration happened. They cut so many good people. Oh, my God. And then they came back literally a year later, like, we need to surge everybody. And that's probably your recruiter's like, oh, boy, like, we need all the people,
And I went in for spec ops. So
okay. You got the beard for it. So.
Well, now I do. 120-pound Taylor back then didn't have any business going for a spec ops job. And
it's those little wiry bastards, though, that do so well.
it doesn't matter the size. That is the hey, ladies, size does not matter. There are badasses, big and small, but
I believe you got that confirmation that size doesn't matter on the last podcast.
Yeah, we have to address that every time, guys.
Do the work,
And
guys.
I did not make it very long in that training at all. So basic training, that's over.
Oh, wow.
Fun times. Get into in doc for pararescue.
Did you get into the water confidence part? Or
Yeah, that's where I failed out.
Yeah. If you have not seen that, absolutely try to look it up on you. I think it was The Cut. I forget the name of the show, but they actually went into the non-secure lessons, but they showed like Air Force water confidence. They showed the Army's
The Great Equalizer.
divers, probably the scariest shit I've ever seen. Like even the
Diving
SEALs.
scares me even still.
Yeah. The Army's. Yeah, obviously the SEALs, they do their diving and everything, but something about the Army's mission set, they need to do stuff even more intense in training. It was like giving me like anxiety watching the Army. It's like, and I couldn't imagine what the Air Force too is. That's an Olympic-sized pool. Isn't it?
Well, and that's the point that I was going to bring up is when I went into the recruiting office. I'm pretty sure, statute of limitations is good now. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure I was in the parking lot of the recruiting station off of Academy smoking weed. Because it's nerve-wracking, and I needed to calm down. So I'm pretty sure I just kicked open their door smelling like a fresh lit bowl of weed and was like, hey, are you guys hiring? And
Emphasis on high.
didn't take them long at all. And they asked me, they're like, when I was looking at all the jobs, and I had to pick of any job I could have ever wanted.
You had good ASVAB scores.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I was like, I want to jump out of planes. And they're like, boy, do we have a job for you, right? Because I jumped out of planes before.
Really?
Yeah. And I was working on getting I wanted to be a jump master. I'm like, I'm about that shit.
Hell yeah.
So when I joined the military, I'm like, yeah, let's jump out of planes. Like, where else can I get paid to do this?
Yeah.
Right? So I signed up for pararescue training, and they make you do a preliminary physical test before you're even allowed to do it.
Intense too, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it shouldn't be. if you're going to do that kind of job. You know what I'm saying?
Let's weed you out in the testing process.
So exactly. And it took me 3 times in the water to do it. But I was like, no, I'm going to do this. So I started swimming every day.
Damn.
I joined a gym. I had buddies that were swimmers in high school that were training me, all that
What's
kind of
the
stuff.
are you authorized to say
Yeah.
what test
No,
is,
it's like,
or
and that's the dumb part is they said, can you swim 10 laps?
Olympic
And I was like,
length,
yeah,
or,
for sure.
yeah.
Too easy. I could do that with one arm. Hungover, you know? Like,
Damn.
let's go. And they're like, all right, let's fucking see. And I made it like 9 laps the first time, under time. And then after that, like 8 laps. Like, it got harder and harder
Really?
each time.
How much time did you have between the tests?
It was just, I think, from a recruiting standpoint, it was like whenever I was ready.
Okay.
You know,
so
like-
you felt like you're ready, and it just,
Like, because they kept me, I was technically signed up to join, but I was in the, what do they call that now? The DEP?
delayed entry
enlistment
program.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in that time that I was in the DEP, I was training, water, all that kind of stuff. And
There's
yeah.
no pay involved with that, right?
No.
With the deb, yeah.
No, I'm still working at Panera Bread.
Okay.
Yeah.
Smoking.
Smoking weed. And yeah, when they said, can you swim 10 laps? I'm like, yeah, of course. What they should have been asking me is, are you already an Olympic swimmer?
Yeah.
You know?
That's a pretty intense training.
Which I
regimen,
was not.
like, yeah.
And neither was, statistically 90% of everybody who joins that training.
Yeah.
So not like I'm special in any way for not being able to do it, but at the same time, man, it was
How much time did they
different
give
culture.
you? 10 laps and how long?
I think it's 10 laps, 10 minutes.
They want you to do an Olympic-sized pull in a minute?
Yeah, a minute per lap, something like that.
Holy shit.
Which I did, and then we all have to do it again. And
Your
after that, once you
girlfriend
pass-
must have loved you having that kind of cardio. Holy
was
shit.
freaking-
It's Pound Town on that.
if I had one, No, I think I was.
Yeah, you
that was part
a
of
stress
the
fracture in the the locker room. Huh?
start of the origin story was the heartbreak. I'm like, I need to get out of here, and hopefully I die in the process. Let's join the most hardcore group of people I could think of. And
We went
after,
Air Force.
yeah, exactly.
Well, so to be fair, like everybody busts chops about the Air Force. Like pararescue guys jump in after somebody's injured. To
Yeah,
include
they're
the,
badass. I'm not one.
Yeah. To include the Navy SEALs. When the Navy SEALs go down, if they don't have a Navy medic there, they drop in our pararescue to get your ass out of there.
Yeah,
So,
I mean they're hardcore. They're all hardcore, and they're all insane in different ways.
with
Every
bad
branch
joints
of
and bad backs and everything.
they. I do know some of the people that were from my basic training flight that are PJs right now.
Yeah, because you have your own basic training when you're going through that vector, right? Yeah.
We were the first flight, I think.
Oh shit,
We were the first battlefield flight.
that's awesome.
So no, it wasn't.
Probably just ran
Oh,
your ass
man.
ragged, huh?
Because it was every, TI in training that was like, oh, you guys think you're hot shit because you're a battlefield airman, huh? And then we would just buy everybody.
What did you have your own standalone squadron or? So who were you tucked
Just
in
first
with?
flight. We were in the, what was it?
So you had the 320th, all the way to the
329th.
329th. What a-
Warthogs. Is it 329th? I don't know.
It might have been new because I went through
Very.
the 320th.
Well, they called it Disneyland at the time because there were new dorms.
Oh, the big ass super dorms.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Those
we were-
are some of the biggest buildings I've ever seen on federal property.
It's
dude.
crazy,
Like, they're
dude.
huge.
People would break their legs walking down the steps from their dorm carrying laundry and
Holy
then get held
shit.
over for months and months.
Yeah.
Like breaking legs in basic and then having to stay there for like 5 months just getting
Well, remember-
grilled for no reason.
The big thing, the TIs would always freak out when you're running down the stairs. They'd be like, walk and use the handrails. Like, yeah, probably because they had an airman fuck themselves up.
The handrails, man. They made me walk up and down the stairs back and forth.
Yep.
Saying use the handrail. And he's like, I used the handrail up. And then he goes, all right, do it again. And I walked down the stairs and didn't touch the handrail. He's like, it works both ways. And it just made me walk around
There's no
in
check
circles.
valve on those.
Just after basic training, I was like, I kind of want to be a fucking MTI.
I was in the running for TI duty this week, and I was told, like, you're not well-rounded enough. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to
Perfect,
retire.
yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I'm trying to retire here, so that was just one less variable to help me retire.
Yeah, because you get
So-
roped into that gig for 4 years.
3 now on
3?
DSDs,
Well.
yeah. Which, if I had to do something outside of what I'm currently doing to retire, cool, let me go. I have the same thing. It seems like once you go through basic training, there's 2 groups of people. People that never want to be in basic training, never want to be associated with that shit ever again. The other guys, like, I think that's kind of cool on one reason or another. It's not a power trip. It's just like,
For me, it was the comedy aspect of it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know, because like an MTI would just make you do something completely ridiculous, and you would have to do it.
pick it up and put it down.
And they
It's
have
like
to
the
keep a
first
straight
fucking day.
face the whole time. Like, that's impressive to me.
Yeah.
To, like, order somebody to do something that you know doesn't make any fucking sense, and then watch them do something or attempt to do something that doesn't make sense and try not to laugh and do it every day with everybody. Like, the ways that they came up to fuck with the trainees was brilliant to me sometimes.
My favorite ones were not when they're fucking with us. My favorite ones is when they're fucking with each other. So, like, the ass chewing towards the airman was trying to get a reaction out of the other TI. I've always been like that. Like, when I was in high school being the class clown, I wanted to make the teacher laugh more than any of these fucking students. Fuck these kids. I want to make sure that adult is fucking laughing.
Yeah.
And that's how I was with the TIs. Like, I'm not the one obviously busting the jokes, but, like, I appreciated TIs fucking with each other.
I would see them roasting somebody else, and I'd have to be in formation and not move, you know?
Yep.
And I'm still like, that was funny.
Did you ever see the car alarm for a flight? So, like, TIs would be like, all right, I'm out of here. He'd go, click, click. And then the entire flight had to go, boop, boop. And then if another TI, because if you're not familiar, like Chow Hall, like those flights are literally right outside the Chow Hall. There's times where a flight needs to move, so logistically another flight can get in there. And I remember TI comes up, he tries to call a flight to attention, and the entire flight has to sound like a car alarm. It's like, bah, bah. Like, what the hell are you doing?
And then if another trainee is laughing at that, then they go and yell at that trainee.
Yeah.
It's just like cycling on top of that. It's never-ending hilarity to me. Oh, man.
Basic train, you go into it thinking it's going to suck so bad. It's like a Full Metal Jacket, but, like, you appreciate the humor and the seriousness of it. It's such a weird blend.
I got 3 square meals a day and forced bedtime.
Yeah. Yeah, it got like 15 minutes to eat all 3 of those meals, but
I got
combined.
less, dude. They made me the dorm chief like 4 days in.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I got extra roasted.
Like in the level of things, like worst thing, it's got to be Chow Runner. Because that person's
Chow
high
Runner.
stress. I think flight chief's probably... or dorm chief's probably like right behind that shit.
They have a fucking whole title. This is not a joke, guys. But it's hilarious. They have a latrine chief. Okay.
Yeah, latrine queen. If you're
Apparently
you can't say it anymore.
Well, no, it's still. I'm sure that the whole point of it is to be degrading. You know, you are the chief of toilets, and that is, and you need to tell everybody what to do in that bathroom. You are the king of that bathroom.
Our guys at one point said we can't use any of the urinals because apparently that's where all the messes are at. Like, hold on a second. We have
got 50 people in here
that need to piss in like 5 minutes because we got to get back down to class. Like, no. So I used to fuck with them. I was like, no time, use the sinks. And the latrine queen's like, what are you talking about? Like, piss in the sinks.
It's fun to think about, like, going back because it wasn't, as like you said, it wasn't what you expected.
Yeah.
You expected something a little bit more terrifying.
A little more warlike, where you're like, oh my God, I'm so fucked. Where you're like, okay, so there's parts of this
really,
are intense.
I spent a shitload of time making beds and folding socks.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
I polished boots.
Yeah.
That's how old I was. Boots in my low quarters. I get to polish those anytime we're
And people
bored.
have asked me that have never, been to basic training of any sort, and they'll be like, oh, that must have been shitty or whatever. And it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But the aspect that people usually didisagree with is they're like, oh, they're brainwashing, they're training, they're, desensitizing and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yes.
Brainwashing?
Here's where I will, it's you can call it brainwashing, you can call it whatever you want, but it's the second that somebody in basic training, doesn't matter what branch it is, the second that collectively they all start doing something that doesn't make any fucking sense because they were told to do so, that's the moment training is set in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They tell you to do something stupid, and you're out there saying, this is fucking stupid. And then everybody else has to get on board and be like, all right, I got this part of the stupid gig, you got that part of the stupid gig, and now it's building a team.
Yeah.
So, like, brainwashing, if people want to, look at it in a negative light and say, like, oh, that's, dehumanizing or something like that, it's like, well, it's training. It's not brainwashing. They're not filling us with propaganda, like putting headphones on us while we sleep.
When I hear brainwashing, I think of that as like we're all going to be like conformity. To me, I think basic training is like sanding down something. It's like if you have those rough edges where it's like, okay, I don't want to conform to this, or I don't want to think. I don't know. It's kind of like, all right, we just need you to sand down these rough edges so you're easier to work inside this team. That's really what it is, like opening you up to teamwork and
It is. It's building a team.
right.
And the thing is, your team is going to change all the time. You need to be able to figure out where your role is in that team.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing to have. You know, that's the camaraderie that they talk about that when you get out, you're going to kind of miss. And
I don't think I'm going to miss it. I've been in for 18 years, so.
I was in for far less than that. And it is a weird thing to crave.
Well, here's the thing. When you move, I think you changed over to LRS at one point, right? You're a mechanic.
I was LRS, and then I was ACS.
ACS.
Yep.
Not familiar.
Air Force has never heard of it either.
But you most likely went into a community that you like were integrated well into. I feel the job that I got put into, like I don't fit into that. Like I'm the black sheep inside of that. So when I leave, like I like that I'm doing like the comedy scene. Like we all seem to.
Well, and that's the
enjoy
thing.
each
You already
other's
have a foot in the
humor.
door with a different group of people.
That's what I'm saying. Is I want to get out of that community because like I just cannot fucking fit into.
Yeah,
it.
I'm not in uniform anymore, but I'm still searching for that. That community, you know, within comedy especially. And I realized that later. You know, I started comedy because it was fun, or you know, I was depressed or whatever, and that was an outlet. And then it became like, oh, okay, I really enjoy this. I like this. I like the people that are doing this. I like hearing other people's jokes and yada yada yada. And then what I realized later, when comedy kind of stopped being a little bit fun and started being a little bit more stressful, that I was like, oh, there's a reason why I'm fighting for this. Like, yeah, it's stressful and it's, you know, frustrating, and it could get depressing even at times. Trying to pursue this type of career. Just in any art form, any artist, you know, that I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not craving stage time or Instagram likes. I'm craving that brotherhood, you know, that like I wanted to hang out with a bunch of, you know, dirt bags that are like me and, you know, tell jokes and fart around and smoke cigarettes on the patio. You know, that's my jam. Let's do. And then, you know, so I found that here in little tight pockets of comedy of all places, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of another thing that I was like, oh, maybe it wasn't that I was like craving being the funny guy, but maybe I'm craving more of like connection.
It's funny you mentioned that. So last couple of days I've been thinking about my childhood, thinking about the ways like I interact and everything. Everyone knows, like I show up for a couple weeks on the comedy scene and I disappear. Show up in comedy scene. I think what it is now is an echo of my childhood. Is what forced me into comedy, or what attracted me to comedy is trauma. Like I just want to be the center of attention, all that stuff. I think now once I get past that door, once I get into like the open mics and everything, I'm afraid that I'm going to lose all these friends because the military keeps moving me.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey man, go join these people, but then fuck if you become friends and you like lose the roots and everything. I'm like, fuck, I don't know where to be happy with stand up. With here is we are able to talk. It's like really cool. We get like productive stuff knocked out. And then like I can text you for a while. Like I don't know. There's just something more comfortable doing podcasting than stand up right now. I think when I retire and I know I'm not going to move out of here, I think the social aspect of it, I'm not going to lose you guys. It'll be a lot easier to do stand up. Because like it's the 1-2 rejection of like, all right, that set sucked because like my material's not that great.
Yeah, everyone's
there's
got a
also like those guys that console you after those bombs. So everybody I talk to is like, dude, you're a decent writer. It's just you never stick around. It's just like I need to hear that. But the more you help me in that, the more I'm going to grow those roots, and the more I'm afraid I'm going to lose you. Like it's this constant back and forth. Like I want to do comedy, but I want to
if you
lose
don't get
the
attached
friends.
to anybody, then you can't get attached to anybody.
I think you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Unfortunately that is one of the parts of the military that does suck. You know, like that's one of the great parts about being in any. You know, everybody who's ever served would be like, oh man, like me and this guy were tight and then he got stationed over here, or I haven't seen him in years, or oh we still talk every fucking week.
And it's cool as like with cell phones and like social media and stuff like that's changed, but like all of my
you'll make some of the best
issues
friends, yeah.
happened before the internet. That's why I'm like my trauma is 25 years old now, where it's like, hey dude, like the internet, you'd reach out to people. Like
it's not a
one of
big
your
deal.
buddies
You
lives in
could-
fucking Thailand, is fucking like email them.
Yeah.
Like, my best friend from middle school is now a movie producer in Thailand.
Dope.
He actually has like a Netflix like movie and shit. I'm like, oh fuck, dude, this dude's killing it.
See, I mean, the different paths that it'll take you. Once you build those roots, you'll make the best friends that you've ever had, and then have to uproot and then make new friends and a
It's
new
that
support
uproot.
system. And
shit hurts too
Yeah,
much.
they're there on text message, and you could send them a fucking like or whatever. But
Yeah.
ultimately, it's like you're not hanging out on Fridays anymore.
Yeah.
You're not meeting up and doing the things and going and experiencing things together.
You're not
in
venting
person,
how much work sucks, like
Yeah.
immediately after work.
Yep, having to rebuild that every time makes us, it sharpens a skill, right? A social skill
Yeah.
of, well, I'm moving again. Time to make all the friends again, and
I've been doing that for
experience
35
things,
years,
yeah.
where it's just like I can't move anymore. I'm emotionally exhausted.
Oh, I'm ready to move so quick. I think that was one of the good aspects of me being in was just like the opportunity to not be in one place for very long.
Yeah. There's people where the military is perfect. It's like, sweet, I'm ready to move. I'm ready to move. I'm ready to move. And there's other people where it's like, I'm so burnt out on moving. Like, I need this ride to fucking stop. Inside of your military career, were you a good troop? Were you like an asshole?
best.
Like, okay. Because like a lot of guys, how long were you did one enlistment?
The one enlistment. I signed for 6. The COVID happened right as I was supposed to
Oh, shit.
be separating. So my contract was up. Global pandemic.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Stay with the security.
best fucking retention time of any branch, I'm pretty sure, of service, where people did not get out, and I was one of them, so I extended for another year.
Okay.
And even though the pandemic lasted a lot longer than anybody anticipated, after that year, I was still like, I think I'll brave the world the way that everybody else is, like, because it doesn't matter if I stayed in or got out. I'm still, I deployed with a fucking mask on, overseas in a goddamn cargo plane with a mask. That's
So if you're flying from here, like that's good 24 hours on a plane, and those planes are in federal federal territory, so you have to follow federal regulations, which was masks.
Well, I'm just, even when we landed, we're in the fucking desert with a mask.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What location?
I was in Jordan.
Oh, I just had buddies come back from Jordan. Okay. Yeah, deploying it with a mask fucking sucks because if anybody pops hot, they get quarantined. And
we're all on the same fucking flight.
whole-
One dude has it, we're all fucked. And it
Yeah.
was just a rotation of people bringing in their shit and leaving with shit, and there was no controlling it.
My commander.
We had to stay quarantined on the way to
Yep.
our deployed site. We had to and then the vaccination came out. And they're like, you can choose not to get the vaccination, but you're gonna have to spend an extra 2 weeks on the way back.
Yep.
So it's like you can get the vaccination, or you could stay here longer. So which one are you
staring
gonna
at
choose?
this goddamn sand.
And I'm like, fucking put it in me. I don't care, man. You guys have already injected me with anthrax like 13 times. Like, I'm made of anthrax at this point. It's not
Typhoid's my
gonna kill
least
me.
favorite. That one hurts, like going in typhoid.
Yeah.
Anthrax stings, but whatever.
It never really bothered me.
My last deployment, my commander kept popping hot for COVID right as he was supposed to leave. You remember with commanders, they're there for a solid year. So he's, texting his family like, all right, I'm going to be home, da-da-da-da-da-da. 2 weeks fucking quarantine. And then obviously the reschedule and everything fucking hit again. Like, what the fuck, dude? Just self-isolate, like, away from the tents.
Yeah. Build your own tent, dude.
Shit. So you leave the Air Force. Is comedy in the
Had
works
nothing to
yet?
do with it.
Okay. Well, no, I'm saying in high school and middle school, were you interested in comedy? Like, okay, so
Yeah, stand-up
was
has always been a
brewing.
part of my life as far as watching it.
okay,
I'd all the classics. If you play guitar and people are like, who do you like? And it's the same names, Jimmy Page, Van Halen, blah, blah, blah. Right?
yeah,
And when it comes to comedy, it's like, oh, yeah, Carlin and, Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor, those kinds of things. Like the greats, the classics, right?
Did you have that inkling to perform yet when you were in the military?
I think I just naturally did it.
Did you?
I would test my jokes out on all of
Okay.
my coworkers. I called them unsuspecting victims. I still do. Like when you test your jokes out on somebody
Yeah.
that you know it's already in your head the way you kind of want to say it, and then when you find the opportunity in public,
Oh yeah,
you use it. And if it because there's no better environment if it is set up for you. That if it doesn't land, maybe you shouldn't tell it on stage.
Yeah.
And
that's what I hate is people's like, oh, tell me a joke. It's like, this is only going to work best if you don't know what's coming.
Yep.
Like, that's kind of why stand-up is in and of itself, too, is, yes, there's an expectation you're going to laugh, but, like, where's that laugh coming from?
Impress me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having that a lot on online dating right now. Is I have chicks going like, oh, you think you're a comedian. I bet you're funnier than me. I'm like, you realize you sunk your shit before you even got a message from me.
Yeah.
Is like, and what I've been doing now, because I'm seeing it so often now, I'm like, in the stand-up comedy world, that means you have more trauma than I do, right? So, which it takes the edge off of that, but I don't like when that's people's opening. Like, I'm funnier than you. Like, you realize I'm a comedian because, like, I'm a traumatized kid.
Yeah, I would be funny in class, and I was artsy, right? So music was first. I was a guitarist. I've been playing guitar for, since I was 8 or 9.
Okay.
So, and like I said, going back to where I grew up, it was middle of nowhere. There's nothing else to do. You can't walk to your friend's house.
Yeah.
Yada yada. So I mean, you had to entertain yourself, and for me, it was guitar for most of my life. So my first thing was like, I want to be a musician. Oh, a musician's not going to work out. Oh, I'll work in radio. Okay, that's not going to work out. Fuck it. Somebody blow me up. I'm over it. My girlfriend's being slammed by my homie. I need to get out of this town. This town's too. I keep running into him.
Yeah.
Get me the fuck out of here. I don't even care if I got to jump out of a plane to avoid this. And that's where, like, I never handled my trauma well. My coping mechanisms were shit. And after I started, like, growing up, I suppose, like, this is now another coping mechanism.
Layer to this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Grow up and grow emotionally.
Yeah, who'd have thought, Our emotions should evolve too.
Therapy podcast now. I knew it was going to fucking happen.
And this is brought to you by Better Hymns.
Yeah.
Or whatever they have.
Oh,
now.
Hymns, hey. Yeah. Consider have coming on the podcast. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so you're out of the Air Force. You hadn't performed yet, but you have that interest. All right.
Yeah, I got out.
What happens after you get out of the Air Force? What job you getting into? Did you stay in?
I wanted to do anything that sounded fun.
Okay.
Because I had the opportunity to do that. And what sounded fun to me were just the dumbest fucking jobs, right? Moving company was, I think, the first thing that I did. If anybody wants to get in shape, don't go to prison. Don't join the military. Join a fucking moving company, all right?
One of my roommates he moves. Now he's getting into, like, MMA. Because he's like that kind of shape now.
Yeah. And it was the funnest, worst job of all time. And it's always, there's somebody with a fucking Peloton machine. Mm-hmm. Where do they want it? The basement? Oh, yeah. The third floor. And then 2 months later, it's going to have fucking hangers on it with jackets and your clothes. You're not used. The only people that are getting exercise from those Peloton machines are the 2 dudes who moved it to your fucking attic the first day. I hate, like, oh, man, that job made me hate materials. I was like, material possessions, people that just want stuff. We'd be carrying boxes and they'd be like, ooh, be careful. My fucking blah, blah, blah's in there. I'm like, fucking burn it. Are you going to be happy? Are you going to live? And that's the other thing too, man. I started the moving company, or I started working for a moving company because when I got out of the military,
was it the treadmill, or was it like what Peloton thing?
The bike and the treadmill.
Ooh, how much is the bike? So
I think the treadmill's
itself
heavier.
is $290.
Yes.
And then the bike. You saying it's heavier?
No, the treadmill's definitely heavier.
Treadmills are stupid heavy, dude.
And you have to take them apart too.
Looks like 150 pounds for the bike. So okay.
But when I moved out, the moving company moved my shit from where I was living, where I was last stationed, to Colorado.
Okay.
Excuse me. And the moving company dropped my entire shipment. Like, I didn't have a lot to begin with. I was a bachelor.
You lost it, or it was damaged because of a drop?
They dropped it. And I feel like from a very high point. Because I had a toolbox and a gun safe that were crushed like a fucking beer can.
How the fuck?
Forklift drivers. If you work at a moving company or any warehouse, the forklift driver has to be drunk. It's a mandatory requirement for every forklift driver in a warehouse to be hammered and probably on whiskey. Yeah.
The cheap shit too.
Yeah, plastic bottle whiskey. Yeah. And they dropped all my shit. They deliver it, and they just they're chucking my shit off the side of the truck, and I'm like, whoa, hold on. Like, originally they were supposed to put it in the garage, like a storage area, and I was just going to get to it later. But then I saw all the damage. I was like, okay, you know what? You guys are unpacking everything, and literally everything I owned was destroyed. So, fucking lost a girlfriend on deployment. Getting out of the military. My plans for getting home are all gone.
God damn.
The furnace in my house went out, so when I got back from the deployment, my house was freezing cold. I didn't even notice for like 3 days.
Wow.
And
fortunately, didn't crack any pipes. Like,
no, everything was
plumbing?
good. I mean, I was too busy just sleeping in a 24-hour cycle depression nap for like the first week of
the military.
Yeah. And what else was that was funny about? Oh yeah, so my girlfriend that broke up that we broke up during the deployment, I get back and she stole the toilet paper,
That bitch.
the shower head,
What?
and all the cell phone charging blocks. Left all the cables. Left all the fucking cables, but no charging blocks. So I get home, and I'm like, you're off a plane. You've just been on a plane for 40-something hours with it. You just spent 6 months with people that you now can't stand, right? And then you go to your house, and you're like, oh, man, I can't wait to just wash the desert off of me in my own shower, not in a public,
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
like,
have to wear
so deployed.
flip-flops.
You have controlled time in the shower. I mean, you're doing combat showers, aren't you? Not in Jordan.
I mean, like, it depended on which area you were, but there was no scheduled time.
Lucky, because
Unless we went dark.
my first deployment to Qatar and my second deployment to Afghanistan, it was controlled length of thing. You had to wet yourself. Turn it off.
That's on main bases. We were at a fob,
Fucking sucks.
so we were.
But that first
The Wild
shower,
West.
after a bunch of controlled showers for 6 months,
Yeah.
you come back, you're like, I'm about to burn all of the hot water.
Couldn't
in
wait to
this
shower
bitch.
my own shower. No shower, but before, you get home first, right? You take off your fucking uniform. You set your bags down. Empty home. Girlfriend's gone. Dog isn't there. It's just
Aw.
quiet, dark, and cold. And I probably one of the first things I want to do is take a shit.
That's
In my
another
own
part,
toilet,
yes.
right? My own
Yes.
goddamn toilet. Take a shit there. No toilet paper. You know what? No problem. Guess this is going to be solved with a shower. Oh, no shower head. Sick.
So
okay.
just had just a tube just dumping water
Yeah.
out of it.
Luckily,
you got good
I had
pressure.
another shower head that she didn't know of, like in the garage. I wonder if she would have stole that one too if she knew. Which is
Was
like
it a-
honestly diabolical. She's pretty fucking smart. I'm not gonna lie.
Was it a shower head that does like special features or okay?
It was someone that she saw on fucking TikTok or something. You know.
So I was wondering if that was the second boyfriend was the shower head.
Oh my
Just
god!
fucking-
I had a fuck. That was like one of the first jokes I ever told on stage. You know, it's like, yeah, I figured out why me and my girlfriend didn't work out. We weren't sexually compatible. I like having sex with the lights on, and she likes having sex with other men.
Ooh.
Yeah, and exactly that was exactly the reaction of every crowd that I told that to for like the first like couple of open mics I went to, and I was like, okay, this just sounds sad.
It's the military. We're all sad.
Well, and then having to change that from like the just telling people the sad truth and then embellishing it with a punchline.
Yeah.
And that's the evolution of like starting to do stand up for me was like, okay, this is funny to me, and I want people to hear it, but it's not funny to everybody or even sometimes anybody. So how do I
fix that?
how do I just get a little bit further with these jokes to at least include somebody else, that might enjoy it.
What convinced you to get on stage for the first time? Before you jumping into the comedy side of it, like for me, it was Robin Williams live on Broadway. It's like once I saw that, I'm like, I have to at least try this once. Like, was there something that you saw, or are you just like, it's been enough time that I'm actually gonna fucking do this?
So like, I get off deployment. My life is just slowly getting shittier and shittier, even after I get out. My anxiety is through the roof. I'm scared to drive. Just like I have panic attacks in grocery stores. Life is not going good.
Did you? Was it a rough deployment? You said
It was not as cush.
okay.
Yeah.
Were you driving down through Iraq? Okay, that explains everything.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Good to see you, buddy. Glad you're still here.
there was a little bit of just what else is there now? Like what's next for me? And my solution was just to get my dog, pack up my truck, and take off somewhere. And I went to the East Coast because some of the guys I was deployed with are all from there. And I just had people that I kind of knew and figured I'd go up and down the coast. And, I've never spent much time there. I wanted to see some good seafood, visit some larger cities.
Bigger than
all
the
that good stuff.
Springs.
And I never, growing up where I grew up in the middle of nowhere, you would think that like a place like New York City would scare the shit out of me. And it was never really a desire in my life to be like, oh, I got to go see the Big Apple before I die kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when I was there, I'm like, fuck it. I'll go stop into New York City and see what everyone's talking about. My sister and a few other people that I know have been there a few times and recommended it.
Did you perform there?
No.
Okay.
Because I once, this wasn't even a thought in my mind to do comedy, but I was in New York City and I, being a comedy fan, of stand-up, was just walking down and somebody was barking for a show. Hey, come see this thing. And it was at the Broadway.
Nice.
So
I've done that twice, 3 times now.
Went and saw the Broadway, and it was an open mic.
Ooh,
Right.
that's super hit and miss there.
So it wasn't terrible. right? But it was when I'm sitting in the audience going like, I can be funnier than that guy. You know, like when he said that, I think it would be funny if he said this. Maybe I should think of ways. And that was like the introduction to me doing comedy. It's like, I think I could try that. If this is an open mic, maybe I'll stick around in New York for another few days and try to hit a mic. You know, but I'm with a dog, so a big dog too. Not going to happen.
Oh, fuck.
And when I finally got back from the road trip, in my mind, I'm like, Colorado Springs is not going to have a open mic scene, you know. Or comedy,
Actually, my favorite scene I've been on.
And it's, you know, surprisingly enough, at the time that I entered, there were 5 or 6 different places that I can go to all in the same week.
Yeah.
In the same week, 5 or 6 places,
What
and
year?
this was 2 years ago, 2.5.
Yeah.
You know.
It seems we binge and purge. Because I remember when I first started, right before COVID, I think it was like 6 days a week. And then we got down
sometimes
to like,
two mics a night.
Yeah. And then we got down to like 2 or 3 a week. I was like, all right, what's going on? And then I disappeared for a little bit, came back. I mean, the high comedy guys fucking crushing it with that stuff. You're doing your bad comedy. Like,
well, and I think
seems like
that's
we're growing again.
well, the origin of all that has to be because, like you said, it's a feast or famine kind of thing for a while.
Yeah.
It's not comedy. Comedians want comedy, right? The businesses in Colorado.
Yeah.
It's, you know, the economics of our city are not in the favor of stand-up comedy. So, so for a while, maybe people will start doing something, and that's when it looks like, oh, things are picking up. And then a business closes, it catches fire, they shut their doors for some reason, and then we got to start all over again.
Yeah. Every time somebody's like, oh, I didn't know we did comedy here. I was like, where's the show? I'm like, literally go to any fucking brewery's bathroom, and I guarantee there's at least one comedy night.
Yeah, there's a flyer somewhere.
Like, it's weird. It feels like we're nomads. Did you ever watch Breaking Bad? Mm-hmm. When they start doing the bug infestment.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like we're doing that. It's like, all right, this tent's gone.
Yeah. Yep. And, you know, the first open mic that I ever went to wasn't my plan. And I've told this story on other platforms, but it was at Nano 108.
Okay.
And I can't remember if that was even my first mic. I think the first mic I ever performed at was at Oscar Blues.
Yep.
But the only reason that it got me there was because, like I said, I used to live out this way. On my way home from work one day, there was a blizzard on 24. And, you know, my truck's doing great. I'm not worried about it. But I see a car fire up on 24 in the ditch.
What the fuck?
And I get at him, and this guy is trying to get back on the road with his car on fire.
What part of the car caught fire?
The rear wheel, right? Because when you're in the snow, that snow melts, and then it ruins your wheel bearing, and then your wheel bearing rubs against all the metal. Then you catch fire right next to your fucking gas tank.
Oh, yeah.
And this dude is just unaware that his car's on fire going up and down.
What's that smell?
I pull over. I'm in a blizzard. I'm like, yo, stop driving, you know?
Yeah.
And the guy gets out. I start running across the highway in a blizzard, and I'm packing snow in there. He gets out. He starts packing snow in there. He's like, oh, dude, thanks for that, you know? And I ended up giving him a ride home to wherever. It wasn't that far away from. Actually, it kind of was. But anyway, I get him a ride home, and he like reaches through his wallet. He's like, yeah, I don't have any cash or anything, but, you know, here's this free beer card that I have for this brewery I work at. And eventually I was like, I had traveled all the way to the East Coast and back. And then when I got back, I found that in my wallet after all the other handful of things I found on my trip. And I was purging it, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, let's go see this place. And I'm sitting in this place, and this is after I'd seen open mic in New York, and I start actually carrying my journal and writing notes and jokes down. And I'm sitting at the Nano Brewery and writing jokes, and somebody's like, are you doing homework or something? And I was like, oh, no, I'm actually like trying to write some jokes. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're going to be here at the open mic? And I was like, there's an open mic here? You know, so it was like
one of the best in town.
It was just fucking, you know, the right place at the right time or wrong time or whatever you want to call it. But, you know, that was kind of like, okay, you know what? I am going to.
Who was running at the time?
Go.
Was that Trent?
It was, yeah, Trent and Joe.
Yep, okay.
And it was like, yeah, it's going to be next week or 2 weeks from now or something like that. So I'm like, okay, I got like 2 weeks to write some fucking shit, you know? Fart, piss, cum. Hell yeah, that's going to crush. That's so funny. And then instead, I think I was like, well, let's go hit an open mic before I hit the open mic. And it was Oscar Blues.
Two of the biggest, strongest
Didn't tell
mics.
Probably a single fucking good joke on there. Like, I know that now, obviously. I didn't expect myself to knock it out of the park or anything like that. But all it took was just, like, one chick in the audience at Oscar Blues, and her, like, boyfriend or other friends was, like, a small group. It was, like, one table that just was laughing harder than they ever could at anything that I was saying.
Oh shit!
And it seemed like I was doing well. It seemed like that.
And then your fly was down.
And yeah, it's just like, and I got the bug. I'm like, oh, okay, let's try again next time. But like, don't say it so weird next time. Like, and then here I am 2 years later, trying to still repeat that same process in a different way.
Yeah.
You know, that trauma has grown and comedy has become a different one. You know,
That high of finally hearing strangers laugh at your shit is just. It has to be comparable to like hard drugs. Is because like
it's the best drug.
Why are you still doing this to yourself? Like because when you fucking hit it, holy shit, is it fucking amazing. But, and that's one of the reasons why you don't see me still is like I have been to open mic after open mic and I keep getting L's. I don't have any like momentum. It's like I'd hit up one of my guests. I'm like, hey man, like if I get my shit together, can I do your show? Like I'm not gonna ask for too much time. Like I literally just need somebody that has a show where it's civilians, like not comics. Because something about bombing in front of other comics is really starting to get to me. And it's open mic. Like I know that's what mics are for.
Yeah.
But it's still hurting on like a different level now.
I mean, there's that one's a double-edged sword for me because sometimes when you perform and get the back of the room to laugh, when you get the comedians to laugh, it's like you know.
Yeah.
They didn't even see that coming, and you know they were probably looking for it. That's like kind of a good thing. But then on the other hand, it's like, fucking, they'll laugh at anything.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes they're laughing at you. Sometimes they're laughing at shit that ain't funny. You know,
those have been some of my favorite at Sarah's. Was like the comic knows
they're laughing at you bombing.
Yeah,
you know,
and then like, oh, that feeds another avenue of jokes, though, because now like, all right, I'm in on the joke
bad
too.
Behavior,
yeah,
okay, and that's where bad comedy comes in.
Yeah,
it's like let's give these people a place.
Yep. How's you said it was at the Block, right?
Yeah, the Block is downtown. Rowdy dive bar.
I feel like Delgado had that at one point. The Block.
No, oh maybe.
Okay, Delgado's been on the scene forever.
Yeah, so. I'm still relatively new. I'm very green in the span of the Colorado Springs comedy lore, you know. But the Block is
a book with the lore in there. It'd be fantastic.
Oh my god, the things that from which perspective, you know, you could have 6 different people write the same book and it's not going to be the same story.
Who's George and Justin living with? It's a comedian's been around since the 80s. Can't remember his fucking name. I'm trying to get him on the podcast eventually. Lloyd. Yeah. He's been around since the 80s. Like, he could start, like, the early days, the golden days.
I love Lloyd. Lloyd has been nothing but supportive every time I see him. He's like, yeah, Taylor, that was a great show. I really like what you did up there with that one joke.
It's a good impression.
I nailed Lloyd on that one. That was... yeah, but yeah, he is a very cool... He's, one, hilarious, but he's also incredibly supportive and aware. He's comedy wise.
Yeah.
You know?
From what I'm hearing through George and Justin's, like, he's known some of like the biggest names in comedy like ever too. It's like, oh my god, like to sit him down and just like rack that brain. That if I ever do get him on here, it might be one of those ones I have to break the episode down.
Yeah, part 2, part 3.
My longest run was 5.5 hours. Yeah, had to break it into 4 episodes.
Damn, with who?
Liberty Lane. It was she's a trans cam.
Okay.
Yeah, so the same reason I'm having Nikki on next week is like, all right, cool, sex sells, and I already have an interest in that industry. The shit that Liberty was talking about was fucking dark. Didn't know how depressing like teen trans trajectory is.
Yeah, that's the point. We're not supposed to know.
Yeah,
we're not supposed to know, but how could you know?
And we should, because the statistics of trans teenagers that are trafficked, like sex trafficked, is disturbingly high. Like
any sex trafficking around here, it's happening at a rate that, it's happening right now, probably. You know,
so
it's literally happening right now.
I talked to a cop up in Denver. Went on a date with her and stuff. She's like, "Yeah, 25 is just the highway. Like, to get kids out of town like real quick." I'm like, "Holy shit!"
And we're just on our way to work.
Yep.
Driving past something potentially horrible.
Yeah.
All the time. That stresses. I've been listening to the murder podcast recently, and it has given me such a different perspective on how situational awareness can change, right? Mm-hmm. You see something on the street, it's like, oh, that looks kind of weird, right? I'm listening to this murder podcast, and that one thing, and I was like, oh, that's weird, and then go on about my fucking day.
Yeah.
Just never think about it again. Is like, now it's like in the podcast, they're like, oh, at a gas station, some stranger saw this guy doing something weird. That was the missing piece to solve the case, you know? So anytime I see something weird, I kind of like, how important is this for me to remember?
What fucks me up, because you talk about like just going past like the worst of humanity and stuff. 2 years ago, they found a chick in Black Forest that had been missing for 7 years. She'd literally been a couple 100 feet off the main road. Like literally just cool. So for 2 solid years living at this house, when I drove like the academy side of like the Springs, I drove past a dead body, didn't even fucking know it. Like it's fucking awful.
And after 12 years, and you know, the detective work on some of these things. Another thing is like, that's kind of I always thought I would be a good detective.
And then you see the shit they're doing, you're like, nah.
Just based off of how I could predict movies, you know. That's all the evidence I needed. I'm like, I could be a good cop. I saw that coming a mile away. Of course, it was the husband, you know. Yeah. But after listening to some of these, man, I'm just like, yeah. One, it's a brutal job, which I don't think anybody could recover from if they've done several murder cases like some of these people have.
OSI with the Air Force, they actually have a dedicated mental health technician there daily with them, because they'll literally come
crazy. That's where the one therapist is in all the Air Force is with OSI. They have the one therapist.
They're all in the OSI office, but literally they'll come out of the skiff and walk right into the mental health stuff, because you know you're talking about stuff with kids, either dead or alive, like just the worst of humanity.
Yeah, and you have to just be like, okay, yeah, no, I'm here to hear your side of the story, right? No, there's always two sides of the story.
I'll go through your phone and see the dead body or whatever horrific thing you did.
Listening to the bullshit that people say, like this, one of them I listened to, me and Leslie Fox talked about it. Oddly enough, we like listened to the same podcast or something on the same day.
One of my favorite people on the podcast
she's
so dark, so dry.
And it was one about some lady locking her husband in a briefcase and he suffocated, or boyfriend or whatever, right? So the 911 call comes in and it's like, hey, I was playing hide and seek with my boyfriend and I zipped him in the suitcase and now he's not breathing, right? And that's like literally almost verbatim the 911 call. And I'm listening to this in my headphones at work. Like, lady, did you think about this story a little bit before you made the phone call?
Why don't you say he fell down the stairs?
You can't hide the person that you're seeking.
Yeah,
that's literally in the rules of hide and seek. You can't know where they're at. So, and the cops don't even bring it up.
Yeah.
Like for 4 hours, they were like, they interviewed Rebecca for 5 hours before and she denied everything. And then it's like, but they didn't even bring up the rules of hide and seek. Like, that's checkmate right there. Case closed. You're lying right off the bat.
Chick? Do you remember the name of that chick?
I don't. Let's phone a friend. Leslie?
Yeah.
She's like been following the case.
Knowing her, she'd like have all the details on her own.
All I knew was how ridiculous that was, and I was just like, "Yep, this is."
Did you see the Night Stalker documentary on Netflix? I think this dude's name's Ramirez. He would literally just jump into bedrooms and just murder whoever's there. So he killed, I think the youngest one was like a 14-year-old up to like an 88-year-old. But so what I liked about that one is it gave you a taste of the darkness, which bummed you out, but also gave you a lot more insight on the investigation side of it.
Yeah, the court cases too. I like listening to.
Yeah, so the investigation for him, because he was so random. It literally would be like, oh, he's in this part of town, and then 4 miles away the next night, and then like he never had a consistent pattern there.
Yeah, random ones are harder to solve. You know?
And then at one point he went up to San Francisco. So he was in L.A. and then he went up to San Francisco for a little bit, and they came back down. And like how they caught him was literally lottery statistics of like how this could fucking happen.
And the detective was like, I cracked the case.
It is insane. There's one pair of Puma shoes, black Puma shoes with a very specific like tread and everything, sold in all of North America. And unfortunately, the police went when his shit was found in San Francisco. He went to the cops went to the San Francisco like governor's mansion and shit, and it's like, hey, like this is what's going on. That dumb chick went to the news, like, all right, we're looking for somebody wearing these very specific shoes.
Oh God, and blew the whole thing.
Blew the case. So he disappears for I think a couple more months.
Well, I mean, if anybody who's into any kind of like true crime shit knows it's like it's usually somebody you know.
This one was not.
And random ones are harder to solve.
Yeah.
Right? And after listening to all these, I've realized, at least for whatever podcast theme that they pick up, is most of the murders, like because it's not all murder podcasts necessarily, but the murders specifically, it's usually the most reliable person. Right? Like it's the podcaster comes on like, oh, Mike Smith was
15.
always on time to work every day at his job fucking bagging groceries. Their supervisor thought it was weird that he wasn't there 15 minutes early doing his usual routine, you know, like, and that's when the police were alerted. The investigation starts. It's like, that's usually how it goes. And somebody's like the 911 call, like they always come to work 15 minutes. And it's like, if I died choking on a piece of cereal in my living room,
probably like 3 weeks later.
Yeah. Nobody at work's coming to look for me. They're just like, that's just fucking Taylor, you know?
I think that was one of the Killer Clown. What the fuck's that dude's name?
Gacy? No.
John Wayne Gacy.
Is it?
Because he was killing teenagers. And one of the parents was like, my son went to this grocery store or whatever the fuck it was. Like, he should be back. And the cops like started investigating this. The cops were dumb as fuck because they found the kid's fucking driver's license along with other kids' driver's license in Gacy's home. They're like, huh, that's just fucking weird. And this,
Yeah.
So it's good to have a routine because, like, yeah, that unpredictable.
Which I don't. I'm the easiest person to murder.
Yeah.
You know, like no one would know for a long time.
How weird would it be, like, if you walked behind the curtain and it was just all, like, Dexter fucking, like, plastic?
Well, and here's the thing is now that I have deduced that I am the easiest person to murder, I don't think it's going to be random. Yeah. So I'm looking at everybody that I know, like, who's going to do it? You know?
I already have the walls covered.
Yeah, I'm in a basement. It's how did Taylor get murdered? He was tricked into doing some podcast.
Yeah, 186 viewers. That's when he started fucking murking people.
And then, the cops on my death or on my murder episode on their post is going to be like, I don't know, he was a stand-up comedian, I guess.
It'd be worse if they like put more qualifiers. He was just a shitty stand-up
comedian. He does bad comedy, and they're like, okay, no wonder he was murdered. What did he say?
What a loser.
Yeah. And really bad comedy, people have asked me about the origin story on that one, and we were talking about the feast and famine of finding venues and holding up comedy and making spaces for people and, trying to book your homies and all that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. It was all after I decided, hey, I could do this. I could find a space. I could blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. It was still just me DIYing shit like I have with everything I've done, and I make jokes all the time, like whenever something is done shitty or half-ass, I'm like, yeah, this looks like I did it, so like, and that's like the standard I set for when I see other things, it's like, people hanging up a fucking picture frame or something and it's wonky. I'm like, yeah, it looks like I fucking did that, like, this looks like shit. And so bad comedy was like, yeah, it looks like comedy produced by Taylor. This looks like if I built a comedy club. Yep, this is exactly what it would look like.
What is it? Do you think is shoddy? Like work with the comedy? Is it your audio system? Is it?
Well, it was in the beginning when I would go to other people's mics and other shows and stuff like that where there would be technical difficulties. Mm-hmm. Like that I know how to work the switcher and microphones, cables, and audio stuff, and I know how to work cameras. I know how to mix things. I know how to do all that from other hobbies and experiences, but at the same time, I'm a mechanic. Mm-hmm. I'm a welder. I was the NCOIC of everything that I've ever been a part of since I joined the military. Mm-hmm. I've always been in charge of everything, organizing everything, working with people, helping people out. And when I stepped into comedy, I think it was kind of no different. Or I'd go to a mic and I'm like, why are we using that fucking system? This could be done so much better. Do you know how many more people would be able to hear in the back if you guys just made this one adjust? Just like little nitpicky things like that.
When military people come into a process because we're so used to that. Like, why are we doing it this way?
There's no chain
unfuck
of
this.
command.
Like,
you can't reach out to anybody. Like, whose job is it to do the thing that's unfucking everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, nobody? Okay, well, shit.
Let's find someone to figure that out.
Let's find someone to do that.
Dedicate people to like.
So I built a set, like you've DIY'd your set, it's fucking, it's fun, it's unique, it's you, and I
have
did
definitely DUI.
Yeah.
More DUI'd my set.
Yeah. I get hella drunk and then decorate my walls again.
Oh, wait. I changed the wrong one. There we go. That's what we're talking about. I hit the wrong button on that one. So, cool. Boom.
Yeah, but I built a set out of PVC pipe and I poured concrete into paint buckets. It's just like, Just do it good enough. It's bad comedy, you know. It's a little edgier, whatever. Not edgelordy, you know. It's not dark. And there's all kinds of genres of comedy. But I liked when I started calling things bad. I'm like, oh, dude, that's fucking bad. And then like sometimes I'm like, damn, that's bad as fuck. You know, that's badass. And bringing back that term like from the old school sense of the way like, you know, talking about a word I'd love to have back is bitchin'. You know.
Make it happen, dude.
I say groovy. You know, I like the feel of some of these, you know,
I want to
past
bring
generation.
back fat from the 90s. Yeah, that shit's fat. Like,
stupid. You know, so I'm taking something that was like, all right, well, instead of like just shitting on it and not doing anything about it, let's do something about it.
That is so NCO of you.
Yeah, bad comedy. And then now the shit is like, oh, so are the jokes bad? And I'm like, okay, well, this is of course what I set myself up for.
Yeah.
You know, is that exact question. What does bad comedy mean?
I feel when you call it bad comedy, it exudes a sense of not cockiness, but like, like I'm confident enough to insinuate or risk the insinuation, because I understand like the double meanings. Like, yeah, shit's bad as fuck. Like, there's that. All right, is this gonna be bad or is this gonna be bad?
But in order for the branding to take off, for people to understand that bad is supposed to be meant to be good.
Yeah,
essentially, right? Is they have to see it. You know, so I book a bad comedy show, and I bring some of the fucking baddest comedians around, and you go to a bad comedy show, and then you see really good content. You know, you fucking laugh, people enjoy it. They're like, well, I thought that was going to be bad. And then I'm like, yeah, you get the joke now. Great job. This is bad comedy. And
how many seats in the block?
The block, I think 40 something.
You guys fill
45. It gets packed in there, but I've never counted to see if we got, and I don't try to count the comedians. All the time, you know, because like the comedians definitely, for an open mic standpoint, are part of the crowd. Yeah, you know, and they're there to see and watch and learn and be ready for their spot. You know, so they have to read the crowd before they go up and all that good shit, right? Mm-hmm. But for the most part, when it comes to like counting heads or whatever in the room, I try to keep it like, who is here that came to see the comedians that are here? Yeah, you know, who's here to be like, all right, let's see what they got, kind of thing. And I think that room, it's tight, so...
I'm trying to think visually. I know I've been to the block, I just can't remember what it looks like anymore.
So it's intimate, but it's rowdy at the same time, you know? And like that's kind of more of my persona anyways. I kind of look like, I don't know, somebody who rides motorcycles or some shit, you know? Like I have a look that's unpredictable. Okay. You know? And I think that kind of fits the vibe of that place, because it is a little grungy. I do dress... you know, a little bit more in that direction. I
want to do an open mic up like in Flying Horse, where everybody has to like wear a suit just to do like 5
that'd be
minutes.
Cool. I really thought about doing something like that even here in Springs and calling it like casino night or some shit. You know? Nice. Like people, did they ever do that shit on base you know, you guys ever have a?
So I did an improv comedy group over at Spangdahlem, and at one point we're trying to do open mic. Another point, like people are just being stationed overseas, people mostly stay off base. Like as soon as they're off work, they're like, "Fuck this place." Kind of the same vibe stateside too. But when you do convince them to come on and like, hey, like it's an open mic, try to come up here, they're all terrified that they're on military stage with military like people.
Their commander might be watching. They might hear something. Yeah, blah blah blah. The funniest way I've ever heard of anybody losing their job in the military was we had a fucking what was that FSS commander. Get forcibly retired because he hired Usher to play a show for the troops on base in Okinawa, and he didn't show up. Fuck you, Usher. And the commander still paid him $1 million. Okay, it's not done yet because Usher couldn't make it or whatever the fuck and took his $1 million. Well, guess what? That commander says, let's get him back.
Gives him another.
So we did, and gave him another fucking $1 million. To do what? To sing the song "Hey," his only good song in the parking lot of a BX.
Yeah,
you know that's like for the rest of you, the guys that don't know, it's like a Walmart parking lot concert featuring Usher, and he has one good song, and he got paid $2 million to do it. So that commander was.
Have you ever been to those on base shows?
It was right next to my dorm, so I could just look out the window.
Yeah, so you know that like maybe 200 people show up. You
And
spent $2 million, and
And it's just a bunch of dependents there with their kids in strollers, dude.
yeah,
It's
just
fucking
ruin
insane.
it for everybody.
It's like you're bringing babies because there's nothing else to do on base, you know? So you go see, and of course you think Usher's going to be a great show. They brought Frank Ocean to base, and during Christmas time. And I've never really like listened to Frank Ocean. I think he's a great musician or whatever, but depressing fucking sad boy music, depressing piano music during Christmas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like anybody's suicidal or anything.
I
during
wonder
Christmas.
how high the fucking rate went up after that concert. That was, and I didn't know anything about. I'd never listened to him before. I was like, oh, John Legend or whatever. Yeah, it was John Legend. I'm like, oh, there's gonna be plenty of people there. That'll be fun. Let's go out and do blah. And then I get out there and I was like, oh, this is like bleak. I'd rather just go back to my dorm and play Overwatch or some shit, you know. And I suck at that game.
Any crazy dorm?
Oh my god! You know what? I thought about this earlier today. Yeah, this is a. Because I knew the military was probably going to come up. I didn't know we were going to spend so much time about it. But
Yeah.
if there's, for those of you who were listening, it's not all dog shit. All right, hate it or love it. There's good parts in every part of shitty parts of your life, and
but the dorms
dorms
and
is
the
one of the
base,
shitty parts for sure.
Yeah.
And I got in trouble for all kinds of stupid shit. Like I made it out of the military without any fucking Article 15s or
LORs,
LORs or anything like that. It
I
was
think
just
in
fucking.
my career I have 3 LORs. 2 of them.
I don't even think I ever got an LOR.
2 of them were cleaning my dorm.
Okay, so that's not even a fucking. That's like the lowest level LOR you could probably get.
Oh, that's not what the tech sergeant was telling me.
Oh my god, dude! So I was in the dorm and we were having a dorm party in the day room, right? So it's like across the hall from me, and the dorms are the size of this coffee table, right? So I mean, like, there's not much room, and it's in Japan, so they're like 8x10 dorms, and they put a full size American fridge in there.
So you got,
One
like,
kitchen in the
nothing.
entire building. I have a 6-pack of beer and some leftover pizza. You know, that's what that fridge is for, and it's taking up most of the real estate in my room. Twin size bed, little closet that stuck out way too far.
Yeah.
So what I did is I rearranged the room, moved all the furniture around, and the closet door opened up into the refrigerator, so I couldn't get in there. And I brought a full toolbox too. I had a toolbox sitting in my closet. I brought drums. I packed
God
it the dumbest way I
damn.
possibly could. I'm like, I'm going
You probably
overseas.
had
What
this
do I
much
need?
living space, didn't
It was dumb.
Yeah.
No, I had, and it looked great in there. It was always clean, but I took the door off
Yeah.
so I could get into my closet and the refrigerator and have room for all this other shit.
Probably got written up for that.
And no,
No?
that's the funny thing, right?
Okay.
Because I went and I asked the dorm guy, the dorm leader, and I was like, hey, man, can I do this? He's like, dude, as long as you put it back when you leave, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, cool. So it was just sitting, leaning up against the wall,
Use that as the table.
and that's what I did in the day room for beer pong.
Oh.
Yep. And I would have been safe if I had just been a little less lazy that night and taken the door back to my room and put it where it was. But I was like, I'll come clean up tomorrow. And tomorrow
Commander
came.
does a walkthrough.
Somebody did, and then they because somebody was cleaning the dorms or something like that. They got put on that duty, and then they went and reported to him. Was like, hey, there's just a fucking door, like, and, you know.
It's like the fucking hood.
And he had to check the cameras and see me walking with the fucking door down the hall to play beer pong on, and
Dude.
yeah. So I got called in for that, and he was like, destruction of government property, misuse of government materials. Like they were like drawing up a whole court case. I'm like, dog, I'll set it behind my refrigerator again. Like, chill. I'm like, the last dude said it was cool, you know. So now I'm in trouble for partying.
They tell us to be resourceful in the military, you know.
And yep. They also tell you to clean up after your fucking mess. So learn your lesson, Taylor. That's what I got. You know, I got written up for stupid shit.
The craziest thing I ever heard in the dorms, I think I was married at the time, so I was out. Commander goes and does this big thing that's been announced like for a week. Like, this thing should be fucking spotless. And
Oh,
everything.
the cleaning party. Hell yeah. GA party.
So apparently the commander goes up the stairs and misses human shit by like 3 feet. Like right there on the, you know, yeah. Oh, it gets worse. So we have a phantom shitter in the dorms, and
Funniest prank, guys. Funniest prank. Hide the Duke.
he goes to the day room. Oh my god! So they find shit in and around like the entertainment center. The PS3, I think, had the slide in, like where you just like put the disc like in. It didn't have the tray.
Mm-hmm.
Shit was shoved into that.
Wow, this guy's a psycho.
Yeah, this dude has like mental health issues.
For sure.
Yeah, so every NCO like in the squadron got
Now they have
pulled
to investigate this guy, huh?
They
Oh
got
my
to make
God.
sure there's no other shit there. It's also a sanitation issue. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, dude,
That's-
worst story I've ever heard.
I mean, that's an easy way to get out. No one's going to... You're not going to argue with the guy shitting everywhere.
Yeah, that dude's clearly
Yeah.
not on the same.
It's like, I'm trying to get or not mentally, but what do you call it? Med boarded, right?
Yeah.
I need to get out. I'm done. And they're like, are you sure? You know, like maybe we should just...
No, when you're shitting,
And then
in the
it's
day
just like,
room.
okay, I'm over. And they just start smearing it everywhere. And like, all right, we got to get this guy out of here. You win, dude. You win.
Where we
You could
at?
leave.
I have a bad case of diarrhea.
Okay, you got a soundbite for everything now.
Hey,
I have a bad case of diarrhea.
Oh, me too. All the time, actually. Yep.
gotta have my obligatory audio drops here. So.
Yeah. Would this be a grown up podcast if we weren't pooping and coming all over the fucking mic somehow? You know, that's what it's all about.
I miss my soundboard so bad. I didn't ask you about your social media. If you want to
Word.
push that out there.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not great at it, but you guys can see what I do. It's just I use Instagram. That's it. So follow me at Taylor_badcomedy.
Okay.
I think it's that.
Oh, you got that branding in there now too with that hand.
Yeah, and then I started a bad comedy page for
Hell
myself
yeah.
too. But that one's, building the content to post for that is like in the works right now. So more to come on that one. But
How often are you trying to upload anything?
I haven't come up with a plan. I'm just trying to freaking
So
make it out alive at this point.
about to get thrown in the deep end because we're doing 2 shorts a week until next Sunday. So,
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I mean, it's a full time job. It's a lot of work.
I'll
If
show
you want to
you.
get good at it.
Once
then-
we get done, I'll show you how to make it super easy.
yeah.
Literally, your social media can take like 20 minutes a week.
I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. But I mean, it's also keeping up on it.
Yeah.
It's maintaining a good relationship with your personal self and the time I spend on my phone, social media curating, stuff like that.
If it weren't for GPS, I would love to get rid of my phone.
I went social media free for almost 2 years. I think it was
Oh,
like a year and a half,
shit.
and it was right after deployment, right after the breakup, right after. So I mean, like, no, the bad part was I would overshare online
Yeah.
when I was using social media because I wasn't a comedian and I was still funny.
Well,
so
because
I'd use
people
my
don't understand.
stories to tell my story, and people would tune in and laugh at my pain.
Oh shit.
It took me long enough to find out, like, oh man, the people are like, they're tuning in because this is reality TV, and I'm the stupid
And-
guy who keeps finding them in these wacky situations.
And then your shit gets aired at work. I learned that without social media. Is I would get in the truck because being an HVAC technician, we have to drive cross base. Guess what David MD's doing the entire fucking time? Fucking trauma dropping like his shit. And it got to the point where everybody knew my fucking business at work. I'm like, oh, okay, this sucks. I couldn't imagine doing that with social media.
Oh,
like-
and I had a huge following that would, because it wasn't like I was making YouTube videos. It was just stories. It was one time only. In the time where there wasn't memories, it wasn't archived. It was just like you get 24 hours to watch whatever the fuck Taylor's going through right now.
Yeah.
And I would put on a show. And that's where I started getting the inkling of comedy, like in myself. Like that's where I did comedy, is people would be like on deployment and be like, hey, I haven't seen you post today. When are you going to post? Or like people would get back from deployment and be like, yeah, man, those fucking stories really kept me like fucking going out there some days and blah, blah, blah. And that's
what
when
I
I was
wish people, especially spouses, I wish they understood is the lack of closure on a deployment is extremely difficult. My third deployment, I was in Qatar, the most insanely angering 6 months of my entire life. It's like, hey, cool. While you were going you said you went in Jordan during COVID. I was coming back to the States right before COVID hit. So, like, I have all of this frustration and lack of closure. And then all of a sudden, it's like, hey, you got to stay in the house with your wife. And, like, no, she's tired of me. Literally, by the time I got off R&R and took another additional 2 weeks of leave, she was done seeing me. And they're like, oh, hey, you got another week with her because of COVID. And, like, she literally said, like, no, you need to go back to work. Like, that should have been my first go. Like, maybe I should go to fucking therapy.
Oh, dude, we all should. That or start meditating. Like Buddhists don't go to fucking therapy, right?
Yeah.
Therapy is a very uniquely American thing that is just now being highlighted the way that I hope will continue to grow. But I mean, like the ideal utopian world that we live in is everybody's kind of mentally healthy and maybe doesn't require such demanding, whatever you call it, healing. You know.
The more I do online dating and the more I do stand-up
dude.
comedy,
Fuck
I
that, buddy.
realize
Fuck that
every
all the way.
single person has something damaged in their background. You have to figure out if that is compatible with your damage.
That's a huge part. It's because it's like the compatibility aspect of like, do we enjoy each other's time and energy, and then also it's like, but am I able to deal with the things that manifest
the
itself
worst
in
of
ways I
times.
can't fix? I can't
Yeah.
fix that shit. You know?
What is your worst? Does it work when I'm, like that's at the end of the day, I've been telling this for people since my divorce is like two people can be nice to each other all fucking day. It's when that person's starting to have a really bad time of it and how they cope with their surroundings. Are they fight or flight? Like, is their fight too intense for
nurturing?
you? That's what we need to find out. Like, all right, let shit hit the fan. See if you guys coming together like works out, or if you guys are pushing each other away. And if you're pushing each other away, or it doesn't work, that you gotta let that person go.
What sites are you using? What dating apps?
Facebook dating's like really
shit.
solid for me.
Okay.
So,
I've seen it advertised to me. It knows it. The algorithm knows that I'm fucking lonely. You know?
oh, it's the advertising really gets it away.
No.
I got a lot of AI porn through Facebook being sent to me. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Fuck,
use
I got
Facebook. I don't like Facebook. I don't like social media. But at the same
the
time, it's
worst.
like when I did use online dating for a long time, and it was fun for me I would use it to gain content
yeah.
for my stories on Instagram. You know, I would intentionally accept the offer to go on a date with somebody that I knew was likely not to be the best date. You know.
Yeah.
Just kind of for the story, so I can get back to work, and then they'd be like, "Oh, how was Duggar's weekend?" And I'm like, "Dude, you have no fucking idea."
The last 7 days of my online dating have been so unbelievably unpredictable that like I literally went to work Friday. I'm like, dude, I think I need like to get off this ride. November, like pretty much the month of November has been insane.
Oh, this is a weird time. The way that everybody is kind of conducting it, it's hyper dating. You know, like that's the social world that we're in right now. Is people have Hinge and Tinder and Bumble and whatever other things there probably are out there right now.
Yeah.
And I was no different. I did the same thing where I had like a Tinder and whatever
Thing
the
is,
Japanese version of it was
Am
out
I
there.
going to stop
And I would see the same
conversation?
people.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's like I'm seeing the same girl on Tinder as I do on Bumble or whatever.
Yep.
So they're doing the same thing. They're trying to use different ways of either
We all want
attracting a
connection.
different audience, or heightening their chances.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing is like this is
But the expectation
we
of
have
like,
limited time, guys, and we have all the accessibility.
Exactly.
Like, how much time do I have to live? Like, I want to start the rest of my life right now with somebody that's ready to start.
But if
the
an
rest of
app
their
throws
life.
me 5 different people, like I have to just deal with that.
I went on one date from a dating app because I'd been off of the dating apps for almost like 6 years. Right, I hadn't touched the dating
That's
app.
healthy.
It was a
really is
different
healthy.
world when I got back on Tinder, and this was like a year and a half ago
Yeah.
or 2 years ago. Right, so the last time I've had a dating app was like over a year ago, I want to say, and I went on one date, and she was gorgeous. Had just the picture and the profile matched the personality and the person that when I met them in real life, and I'm like, wow, cool. It's getting better, right?
Yeah.
the dating algorithm or whatever.
Yeah.
Sitting down at this pub, I crack a joke or whatever, and she has the loudest laugh,
Oh God.
and it was the craziest sounding thing.
Is
And
it
I'm not
high
saying this as a
frequency?
person.
Like,
I'm not even
what
going to
is
try
it?
and remove it. It was, and this wasn't something that I was like, ew, gross. But the first time she laughed, I was like, whoa, right? And then like the second time she laughed out loud, the rest of the bar was like,
I hate those.
it was like, oh man, and I can't be Mr. Funny Guy all the time if this is going to be the consequence, right?
You said you lived in Japan?
I was in Japan, yeah.
Are they like the Germans where everything's very quiet? Like we don't make a lot of noise during dinner? And like the loud American over there, they're all just like
It depends on places. Like
Germany,
near base,
noisy laughers, dude. They all get like, who the fuck? Because they start staring too. Germans don't give a fuck. If you're the weird one, you're gonna know you're
they'll
the fucking weird one,
they'll
dude.
draw attention to it.
Yeah. Well, they don't draw attention. They just stare at you, and you realize you have a room full of krauts staring at you.
No, it's fucking like I don't know. Japan was I was in Okinawa, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's a different culture subsect entirely from mainland.
Yeah.
Regardless,
seem
Japanese
very
culture
reserved.
is one of the coolest places I've ever been to.
Yeah.
They don't half-ass anything. They're very respectful. They're very friendly. They're very educated, regardless of what walk of life they've come from. You know, Okinawa, they're like the Hawaiians of Japan, though.
Just chill as fuck.
So it's a different culture. Where I was at, you know, it's like it's still Japanese culture, but it's Okinawan culture. You know, going up to mainland, and I'd see other people up there in mainland acting a fool. I'm like, yo, like it is a little bit more like that. Like, hey man, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Maybe don't get drunk and get on the train and do pull-ups on their fucking on the handbar, you know?
And punch out a senior citizen.
Like, yeah, why don't be throwing rocks at the train, dude. You know, this isn't fucking Milwaukee. Just
I was in Germany. You might have heard of this. I don't know.
I wanted to go to Germany so bad.
There was 2 dependents that were throwing fucking like football-sized rocks off an overpass.
Oh my god, yeah, I think we did talk about that's fucked up.
Killed I think it was 2 Germans on the Autobahn.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
I think they're doing life.
They better.
Which is really crazy in Germany because most European like countries.
Yeah,
it's
kind of
20.
weird. Germans and their prison systems, how they've changed, huh?
They used to have final solutions.
Yeah, a little different culture now these days, huh?
One of those dudes that did that, I was in the same stairwell as his girlfriend. So like she's coming.
Those are American
upstairs.
dudes?
Yeah, those are American kids. They were fucking kids.
That sucks.
Like, imagine you're 17-year-old. You're about to graduate and send him back to the States. The motherfucker killed
And then
somebody.
fucks up, yeah.
And made international news.
Yeah.
That shit was on CNN.
Oh,
Like,
for sure. It's got to be brutal. I mean, kids, am I right?
Liabilities.
Oh, my God.
All right, we do social media. We're going to do your dates one more time. We're going to get you the fuck out of here.
Hell yeah.
I had a great time with you, though. All righty.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. This
Absolutely. It was
really cool.
Amazing. I love having people on. So we're going to be able to see Taylor Duggar at Fritzy's The Dilf Show, 7 December at 9 p.m. He's going to be doing his Bad Comedy Show at The Block.
And that one's also an open mic, so
Oh, yeah?
there's a showcase, and then afterwards we do the open mic. If you're feeling froggy, come and sign up.
Hell yeah.
You want to see, the open micers come and test our new shit, come on by.
For better or worse.
Well, and that's the fucking thing, man. That's part of the ride. Exactly. It's one of the more enjoyable parts as a comedian. Maybe not for the spectators all the time. Like, I went to go see comedy, and they were not that funny. It's like, well, tonight they weren't. But trust me, I've seen them fucking crush, dude.
They're just laughing at each other.
Yeah. The comedians in the back are laughing. They're like, why was that funny? It's like, because he's fucking bombing. That's what, It's like watching your friend slip on the ice. It's hilarious.
I'm anxiety laughing back here. But yeah, the Bad Comedy Show is at the. Does that rotate around the Bad Comedy Show? Or is it just specifically at the Block?
We do the Block every second Saturday, and then Wackadoo every third Friday of the month. So they're both monthly showcases. New people every time. New lineups. Hit me up if you want to do a show, get booked.
Hell yeah.
I'm open to all the suggestions and feedback I can get.
Fucking love it. So both of those shows are going to be Bad Comedy Shows. 14th December at the Block, and then 20th December at Wackadoo, 8 and 9 o'clock respectively. It's great seeing you, man. Hope to have you on the show here soon. We'll watch some dumbass clips next time and really, I don't know, play slap ass. I don't know.
Hell yeah. Tell some more stories where they get worse each time.
Oh, yeah.